I never imagined that fixing my driveway would lead to a full-on disaster, complete with fire trucks, flashing lights, and a city-wide evacuation. All because of one woman, Karen. She wasn't just your average nosy neighbor. No. She was the self-proclaimed queen of our HOA, and she believed she had the power to control every inch of our neighborhood, including my home. Now, before I dive into the chaos, let me take you back a few weeks earlier when this all started. I live in a quiet suburb. Pretty normal place. People keep their lawns trimmed, houses are neat, kids play in the yard. You know, just your everyday neighborhood. We have a homeowners association, or HOA, which is supposed to keep things nice and organized. In theory, it sounds good. In reality, it's a power trap. And in the center of that trap was Karen. Karen lived across the street. Her lawn was always perfect. Not a single weed in sight. She wore sunglasses even when it was cloudy. And she walked around with a clipboard. I'm not kidding. An actual clipboard. She'd walk up and down the street looking for things to complain about. A mailbox too tall? She'd report it. A curtain the wrong color? She'd send a warning letter. If there was an HOA rule, even a made-up one, Karen was ready to enforce it. Now here's where I come in. My driveway had cracks in it. Old concrete, years of wear and tear, and honestly it was starting to look bad. I didn't want to deal with a full replacement, but the cracks were getting worse. So I decided to fix it. Not a full redo, just a resurfacing. I found a local contractor, got the permits, checked with the actual HOA handbook. I was good to go. Or so I thought. The morning work started. Karen was out front in less than 10 minutes. She stood at the edge of my lawn with her arms crossed, tapping her foot like a cartoon villain. The contractor hadn't even unloaded the tools yet when she started yelling. "Excuse me. This driveway is not HOA approved," she shouted loud enough for the whole block to hear. I was confused. I told her I had permits. I explained the work. I even offered to show her the paperwork. But she wasn't interested. "Driveways must match the original aesthetic of the community," she said, like she had memorized every rule, even though no such rule existed. I politely told her the HOA didn't require that, and besides, it wasn't a full replacement. It was maintenance. But logic doesn't work on people like Karen. She just huffed, scribbled something on her clipboard, and stormed off. The contractor shrugged. I shrugged. We got back to work. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The next day, I woke up to find a warning letter taped to my door. No envelope. Just taped there with what looked like packing tape. It was from Karen, but it looked official. There was no HOA letterhead, no board signature, just a bunch of bold fonts and words like violation, penalty, and community standards. Honestly, it was laughable, but also a little unnerving, because Karen wasn't letting this go. I ignored the letter and finished the work. For a few days, things were quiet. Then one morning, I heard this awful grinding noise, like a monster chewing on metal. I ran outside in my pajamas, and what I saw made my stomach drop. There was a jackhammer in my driveway, and next to it, a man I'd never seen before wearing a construction vest. He was already knee-deep into the concrete I had just paid to fix. Behind him stood Karen, hands on hips, smiling like she'd just won a battle. "What is happening?" I shouted over the noise. Karen didn't flinch. "You were warned. The HOA approved removal of your unauthorized driveway. I've hired a team to correct the violation." I was stunned. Shocked. I couldn't even find words for a few seconds. Finally, I yelled at the guy to stop. He looked confused, paused, and said, "Wait, are you the homeowner?" I nodded. He looked back at Karen. "She said she was the owner's representative," he muttered. "She's not," I said, voice trembling. The guy shut off the jackhammer, clearly uncomfortable. Karen stormed over to me. "You're interfering with official HOA correction measures. That's obstruction." I told her to leave my property. Repeatedly. She refused. I called the police. While I was on the phone, things got worse. I noticed something. There was a strong smell in the air. A sharp, chemical odor. Then I heard a hissing sound. The worker had broken something underground. He stepped back quickly. That's gas," he said. "Gas." Within minutes, we had a full-blown emergency. The police arrived. Then fire trucks. The entire block was cordoned off. People were told to evacuate their homes. Sirens, flashing lights, neighbors standing in their yards with their kids and pets, confused and scared. And in the middle of it all, Karen, still insisting she had the authority to order the work. When the fire department asked who approved the digging, the contractor pointed to Karen. She tried to lie. Tried to say she was acting on behalf of the HOA. But when they asked for proof, Emails, signatures, anything. She had nothing. Because she never had permission. She acted alone. They escorted her off the property. I stood there watching the chaos unfold, trying to hold it together. My freshly resurfaced driveway was destroyed. My neighbors were scared. And the smell of gas lingered in the air like a reminder of how fast things can go wrong. All because one person decided she knew better. One person who thought rules only applied to others. One person who believed she had the right to take over someone else's property. And this was just the beginning. After the gas line was hit and the emergency crews rushed in, I thought the nightmare might be over. But no, it was just getting worse. The whole neighborhood was evacuated. People were packing up their pets, grabbing essentials, and leaving their homes on short notice. The air was thick with tension and fear. Everyone was whispering, staring at my house like it was the center of some disaster zone. I felt like the bad guy, even though I hadn't done anything wrong. I tried to keep calm, but inside I was shaking. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Calls from neighbors, friends, even the HOA board members who were finally stepping in. They wanted to know what had happened. They wanted answers. I didn't have many. Karen, on the other hand, disappeared after the fire department escorted her away. For a few hours, she was nowhere to be found. But then the real drama started. The HOA board sent out an emergency meeting notice. Everyone was invited. I knew this was my chance to explain my side, to clear the air. But walking into that room, seeing Karen sitting smugly at the head of the table, made my stomach twist. She acted like she was still in charge. She opened the meeting with a speech about community standards and protecting property values. She painted herself as the victim, the person who was trying to save the neighborhood from chaos. The room was mostly silent, but I could feel the eyes watching me, judging me. When it was my turn, I spoke slowly, trying to stay calm. I explained that I had followed the rules, gotten permits, and tried to do everything right. I told them about the damage to the gas line, the evacuation, and the chaos Karen had caused by acting without permission. Some people nodded, some looked confused, and some still seemed unsure who to believe. But Karen wasn't done. She interrupted me several times, trying to twist my words, making me sound like the rule breaker. It was exhausting. After the meeting, the HOA board promised to investigate. I hoped they would do the right thing. But Karen was still lurking, sending me messages and letters. She threatened fines and legal action, saying I had violated HOA rules and caused damage. The contractor I hired came to my house the next day. He looked worried. He told me the damage from the jackhammering was worse than we thought. Not just the gas line, but also water pipes and electrical cables underground. Repairs were going to be expensive and take weeks. I felt overwhelmed. How had this all spiraled so fast? I just wanted a nice driveway. Then came the city inspector. He arrived with a serious look and started asking questions. When I told him about Karen's unauthorized digging, he frowned. Did the HOA approve this work? He asked. No, I said. Karen acted alone. Without any permits. He nodded, taking notes. That's a serious violation. She could face fines or even criminal charges. Hearing that gave me a tiny bit of hope. Maybe justice would be served. Meanwhile, rumors were spreading around the neighborhood. Some people called Karen hero, others called her crazy. I tried not to get caught up in the gossip, but it was everywhere. One afternoon, I got a knock on my door. It was the HOA president. She looked tired but serious. We've reviewed the situation, she said quietly. Karen broke the rules. She had no authority to do what she did. We're launching a formal complaint and pursuing legal action against her. I wanted to breathe, to finally relax. But the fight wasn't over. Karen fired back. She sent a flood of angry emails to the HOA, the city, even local news outlets. She claimed she was protecting the neighborhood, that I was trying to ruin the community. Her words were harsh and full of accusations. I ignored most of it. I couldn't waste my energy on her madness. But one day the HOA board called me again. This time it was about the damage to the neighborhood. Because Karen had destroyed the gas line and underground pipes, the HOA was now responsible for fixing everything. And guess who was going to pay? Karen. The board said she would have to cover the costs, including fines from the city. They were also considering removing her from the HOA. That news made me feel relieved but also sad. It was hard to see someone so consumed by power that they could hurt an entire neighborhood just to prove a point. A few weeks later, the repairs finally started. The city crews worked nonstop to fix the gas line and pipes. My driveway was still a mess, but I felt hopeful it would be repaired soon. Karen, meanwhile, was nowhere to be seen. The HOA confirmed she had resigned, or rather was forced out. The neighborhood slowly returned to normal. But the damage wasn't just to the driveway or the pipes. It was to trust, community, and peace. Every time I looked outside, I remembered that chaotic morning. The noise, the fear, the anger. It was a lesson in how far some people would go to control others, and how important it is to stand up for yourself, even when it feels like the whole world is against you. After Karen was forced out of the HOA, I thought the worst was behind me. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. The neighborhood was still buzzing about everything that had happened. People talked in hushed voices, sometimes glancing toward my house like I was the one who had caused the chaos. It was exhausting. I just wanted peace. Repairs on the gas line and the underground pipes dragged on for weeks. Every day more trucks, more workers, more noise. The street was constantly blocked off. Mail was delayed. Deliveries rerouted. Neighbors were frustrated, and I understood why. I felt trapped in the middle of it all, like a target in a drama I never signed up for. Still, I kept my head down, trying to focus on moving forward. The contractor finally gave me an estimate to redo the driveway after the repairs were finished. It was more than I expected, way more. I was already stretched thin from dealing with the damage caused by Karen's reckless actions. Then, out of nowhere, Karen resurfaced. She started showing up at neighborhood meetings again, begging for forgiveness. She wrote long emails to the HOA promising to change to make things right. But no one trusted her anymore. Not after everything she had done. One afternoon, I was working in my yard when she appeared at my gate. She smiled that smug smile and said, "I just want to talk." I wanted to slam the door in her face. But I didn't. I needed to hear what she had to say. She told me how sorry she was, how she didn't realize the damage she'd caused. How she only wanted to protect the community. I listened quietly, but I couldn't forget how her actions had put everyone in danger. She asked if we could somehow move past it. I told her it wasn't that simple. Karen left, but her presence lingered. Some neighbors still whispered about her behind her back. Others wondered if she might try something else, something worse. It felt like the calm before a storm. The HOA board kept me updated on the legal proceedings. Karen was hit with heavy fines and faced a lawsuit for the damages. The city was serious about making sure this kind of reckless behavior wouldn't happen again. But Karen didn't back down. She fought back with lawyers, claiming the HOA was out to get her. The drama spilled into public forums, social media, even local news. It was exhausting. I never wanted this attention. I just wanted my neighborhood to be safe and peaceful again. Meanwhile, my driveway sat in ruins. I kept looking at the broken concrete and imagining the jackhammer ripping through it. That sound haunted me. But eventually the repairs were done. The gas line was fixed, the pipes replaced, and the contractors began resurfacing my driveway. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine again. Neighbors started to smile again. Children played in the yards. The quiet evenings returned. Slowly, life went back to normal. But the scars remained. Karen's actions had left a mark on our community, one that wouldn't heal overnight. Trust was broken, friendships tested, and peace shattered. And yet, I learned something important through it all. Sometimes, people like Karen think they have the right to control everything around them. They believe rules only apply to others. They don't care about consequences or the damage they cause. But there's always a price. And sometimes, karma uses a jackhammer.